All right, well, it's been weeks since last time I started this video. We got the transmission in from Monster Transmission. We got a torque converter in, but it was the wrong one. So I finally got up with them and they sent me the correct one. And looking at it and looking at the numbers and also the, where you put the bolts in, I believe it's exactly the same one that I sent them. But that's okay. It's here, which is awesome. Now, the other problem that I had is that I did not read the fine print and that it needed synthetic oil. So I went out to their website because I didn't want any discrepancies on what I used or whatever and bought their oil. I bought a whole case. Now this stuff is not cheap. It was 180 bucks shipped. Holy crap. But they do say you have to use synthetic Dextron 3. Which was a little hard to find around this area, but I didn't want any discrepancy, so I said, hey, I'm going to buy it from you guys, and now I'm going to shoot a video. Just in case it doesn't work, they can't say I put it in wrong. Anyway, so the first thing we're actually going to do is actually take one of these quarts, and now we're going to put it in the torque converter. Why, do you ask? Because you do not want to put a dry torque converter in, because as the pump, this thing has to spin in order for the pump to pump. And then if this thing is spinning without fluid in it, it's gonna burn up and then you just wasted all of that money. So don't do dry, use some lube. All right, now we are underneath the Jeep and a couple things you need to look out for. Since everything is off, look at your flex plate. Make sure it is not cracked in any locations. These are the 4 mounting holes for the torque converter. Make sure there are not any cracks. Also, look at all your teeth all the way around to make sure that you don't have any missing teeth or anything that is damaged. Also, another thing, while you're here, check the rear main seal. If that needs to be replaced, pull this off and replace that rear main seal. On a 360, it's not exactly the easiest thing in the world, but it is doable. I'm not going to mess with mine right now, but my flex plate looks cherry. It's actually made in the USA. Imagine that. All right, so another important thing you need to do is actually flush out your cooler lines. Now, if you don't replace them all, you gotta flush them out. Now, if there's any contaminants that are in the line or in the cooler and stuff like that, it can get into your brand new transmission and jack everything up. You do not want to do that. Also, it's going to void your warranty, so you don't want to do that either. Now, if you had a catastrophic failure of that transmission, go ahead and replace your lines. Get new ones. Replace your cooler. Get a new one. Ours wasn't quite a catastrophic failure, so what we're going to do is actually flush it out. That's how we're going to do it. All right, so you have your 2 cooler lines. I've already flushed it out a little bit, but we're gonna go ahead and do it again. So what I usually use, you can get some actual flush solution that actually hooks up to the line, you blow it through and everything is all hunky-dory. What we're gonna use is compressed air. So we're just going to squirt a little bit, try not to make a mess. All right, well, I still have some in there. So, I still had a little bit in there, but we're going to get rid of that. And what we want to do now is I'm just going to put some brake clean in there. There you go. Try not to get it on my camera, because that would suck. All right, and I'm going to grab a rag, even though all my rags are completely disgusting right now. I'm going to put it on the other side, because it's going to make a mess. Should actually put it in a bucket. All right, once you get all that all flushed out, we can start on the next phase. All right, so we have our transmission. It does look pretty nice. I'll give them credit for that. It's actually painted really nice. They actually sanded down or brushed or whatever the mating flanges, and that's it's all pretty good. So what we're going to do now is actually have to put in the torque converter. Now, this is very important of how you put the torque converter in. Very important. So I'm going to begin ready to make a mess, because I did make a mess when I was pointing this oil in. But hey, maybe some oil will get onto that seal and I won't put it in there dry. So you're going to take this that you already put a quart of oil in, And then you're going to put some oil all over the place. Alright. You're going to go 1. There you go, that's 2. And actually, I think that was 3. So there's usually 3. 1, you're going to pick up the drive gear. The next one, the last one's going to be the pump. So there's 3 different clicks, 1, 2, and 3. So this is a 727 and it's for a full drive Wagoneer. Now, if you can wiggle it back and forth and hear the pump being engaged, listen. All right, you hear that click? That means that's the pump that's moving back and forth. That's what you want to hear. If you do not hear that, then keep working it until it falls into place. Now, if you notice right here, I did put some paint. What I did was actually put the Flexplate on. It only goes on one way. So I put it on there, put the bolts in, and then I hit it with some spray paint so I know which way it goes. So I'm gonna look at the Flexplate, find out where that is, and if we line that up, the bolts will line up as well. All right, welcome to my dungeon. All right, as you know, we don't have a lot of fancy tools here at Five Lakes Garage. So I got a bunch of wood and a transmission plate. That is, yes, that would be lawnmower blades. Anyway, got it on my floor jack, and those are going up, but I do have some safety straps up there as well, just to make it a little bit easier. So I have it almost in place. What you need to do is actually inspect your dowel rods or dowel pins or whatever to make sure they're still in good shape, because that is where most of the torque actually gets transferred to the engine. So the next thing we need to do is actually, before we run out of room, is actually put the dipstick in. So make sure you have a new seal. So let's go get the seal and put that in. And then we're going to go ahead and mate the two together. I don't know if I'll be able to film that because it's dark, and yeah, you can watch one of the other videos. I've done this a few times. All right, we're back underneath. Transmission is in, as you can see. Still got my straps on there. All the bolts are in. They are torqued down. Everything is great. Now it's time to put the torque converter bolts in. Now, if you put these in and the torque converter actually goes towards you just a little bit, that probably means that you're okay and then everything is, you put it in there properly. So if it does move, don't be alarmed. It is going to move just a little bit, but not a lot. But anyway, I got new bolts to put in there. The other ones were kind of buggered up because everybody kept trying to take them off so many times. Don't forget your Loctite and get them in there. Now, if you're not gonna be able to reach all of them, so make sure you have a bolt or a, a breaker bar on the crank bolt to rotate the engine in order to get each bolt. There you go, let's put it in. All right, make sure you torque it down to 40 foot-pounds. There you go. All right, transmission is in. The torque converter is bolted to the Flexplate. The only thing left now would be the cross member. I got a new trans mount. Some of these little disposable, consumables, I guess. Go ahead and replace them now instead of having to come back later to replace them. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Last night, I will have to admit, I almost dropped the transmission on my head. It kind of lost a little bit of traction when I was trying to adjust the safety straps, and yeah, it started coming down. Luckily, I was able to grab a hold of it and actually get it up there, and I didn't get hurt, which is great. But I do have to manhandle the transfer case because I'm all by myself. So I'm gonna get that in there and then start putting in the rest of the stuff. And when I get to an important part, then I'm gonna bring you in. But right now it's just bolting stuff on. Anyway, be right back. All right, so making progress. I would have a handy tip for you. Don't wait so long to actually put things back together. Finding all the fasteners has been challenging, but hey, we'll find them. Not a big deal. So I'm just gonna give you a quick update on the progress because we're getting ready to put some bigger stuff in there and you won't be able to see what we did. So if you look up here, you have the cooler lines. I did put those in there. Make sure you blow them out one more time before you put them on there. Again, don't want trash in there. Went ahead and hooked up the electronics, which, and this is a 700 727, which is just one plug. That guy's in there. You have your vacuum actuator for your four-wheel drive. It's just the way that Wagoneer does it. Make sure you have good boots on your ends. If they're cracked in any way, go ahead and replace them, because if you don't have good vacuum, you're not going to go into four-wheel drive. Now, one thing I have to do up here is actually, once I put the cross member in, I'll drop the engine down a little bit so that this will line up. Right now it's kind of in a bind, but I did actually hook it up to the side of the transmission, but she's moving around right now, so it's not huge. But I can't knock it down into the mount until we lower the engine. A couple real quick things. Actually, where's my light? There you go. When you're actually setting all this stuff up, make sure that you replace all these little guys right here. So this right here is actually it's just a plastic little grommet type of thing. So anyway, these were pretty wore out, and this is for your shifter. And then on top, right there, that is for your kickdown cable or passing gear or whatever you want to call it. Make sure you replace all of those as well, because if they are worn, then, well, it's not going to work right, and you could damage your transmission. So be careful with that. And there's some stuff up top. There's a few things on top on the carburetor to be able to have that adjusted properly before you actually use the transmission. So anyway, yeah, did you know that this guy's heavy? Anyway, sorry for the camera work. I'm really trying to rush right now to try to get this thing up and out of the way. I got a couple other projects coming in this weekend, and I need the bay. So I want to get this thing done. That, and I spent so much money on this transmission, I want to make sure it works. So anyway, all right, I'm going to put the cross member in, and then I'll just button up the rest and bring you back. Yeah, make sure you get all your linkages beautiful. Just get new stuff. All right, we are on the last page of these instructions, and I'm going to follow it to the T, because I didn't rebuild this thing, and I don't want them to have any excuses to be like, oh no, you messed something up. So I have the linkage all set up. I have the trans cooler all set up. What else do we have here? Oh, we got a new transmission mount. We got the cross member in. Everything is torqued down. Torque converter bolts, I think it was like 40 foot-pounds. Covers on their drive shafts. All that stuff is done. What we have to do now is we need to add 4 quarts to the transmission of our specialty formulated transmission fluid. That's really expensive. And then we're going to run it at idle, put it in neutral, because that's how you check the level on this thing. Then we're going to add 3 more quarts once it's running. Then while it's running, we're going to let it cycle through a little bit, and then we're just going to start checking the dipstick to make sure we have it full. So why don't we just go look at everything underneath one more time just to show you exactly what it all looks like, and then I'm going to show you how to check the linkage for your kickdown. That's very important. All right, let's climb underneath, and then we'll do the last page and hopefully get driving. All right, we're underneath. Got our exhaust in, transfer case, drive shaft. We got an electric fuel pump. Even put the parking brake cable on. Now you probably noticed this right here. It goes on the outside side of the inside bolt. I have a different exhaust in there that I actually have to loosen it up there later on, and I'll push it up because it's too far down, but I'll fix that. Don't worry. Front drive shafts. Yeah, look at that. Everything is in its place. I even put an O2 sensor in so I can tune the carb. Maybe get some of those wires out of the way. But other than that, we're at least ready to test it. I'll try to put everything into the final configuration once I test it, because I want to make sure this thing works. Gosh, I hope it works. All right, now we're underneath the hood, and this is where the other side of that linkage actually goes. So I have my carburetor right here. It's just an Edelbrock. They got your throttle linkage right here, and right underneath that is your linkage for your kickdown. Now there's a little nylon bushing right here that it needs to ride on. Make sure you have that. If you need to adjust it, there's a screw right there that you can adjust it. Now what you want to do is make sure that when you go to wide open throttle, all your linkage is pushed all the way in. All right, so I'm gonna go all the way throttle, and then if I pull this, it doesn't go anymore. So we should be in good shape, because as you ramp up, it should pull it in. So there you go. All right, so now I got to add 4 quarts of transmission fluid, let that drain in, then we're going to crank it up. Hopefully my battery's still good, and see how she works. But of course, like any other project, one project leads into another project, and now I have to see if my batteries are good for the Dodge over there, because I got to get that thing out of the way before I can get this thing out of the way, because it's been sitting here for so long. So yeah, it's not one thing, it's another. All right, transmission fluid, I need it. And yes, that stuff is that expensive. I'm gonna let every drop get out of that bucket. All right, so it's running. I did add the 3 quarts of oil in it, or fluid, sorry. Cranked it up. It was making a lot of noise and it got me scared. But I put the pressure tester on there. I do have line pressure, which is great. And I found out what that noise was. Base of my cover sheet was rubbing on the crank. I'll have to look at that later. So I just took it off because I want to go ahead and give it a test drive. I want to wash my hands. I am checking the oil and I was a little bit low, so I'm just gonna add another quart and we should be perfect. Yes, I'm gonna leave the potholder there. Oh. All right, here goes the test drive. I'm gonna go this way. Go in the yard or not? Yeah, I've got my truck running. All right, we got drive. Oh my goodness. She's moving. I don't have a lot of gas in this thing, so it might conk out on me. Oh yeah. The Wagoneer's back, baby. Holy crap. Oh, and she even kicks the wheel. That's what I'm talking about. Oh, there we go. All right, so we have oil pressure, we have fluid pressure, we have drive, we have straight. We got a Wagoneer. All right. Well, there she is. She's running again. Oh my gosh. Oh man, I have so many different projects I need to do to this thing, but I didn't want to do it unless this thing actually ran. There we go. Put that back in there. So it needs a good washing. It needs new lug nuts, sorry, and studs in the rear. We gotta clean up all, we gotta clean off all the garbage because she stinks right now because it's been sitting for almost a year. But yeah, once we actually wash it, I got roof rack, so many different ideas for this thing, and it's been driving me crazy that we have not been able to drive it. But yeah, look at her. She's out of the shop. She actually moves. So I'm gonna take it back in. Once it actually gets warm, make sure you check your oil, your fluid, just to make sure that it is topped off. And then you should be ready to go. Check for leaks as you go. You don't want any leaks to actually ruin the environment and also ruin some of that very expensive transmission fluid you just bought. But anyway, yeah, there she is. Thank you for Monster Transmission. No, you're not a sponsor. Yeah, you charged me full price, but hey, I got a Wagoneer that runs. I also have a Dodge that runs too. But anyway, check out all the other stuff. We got a lot more stuff coming in for this Wagoneer. Can't wait. Let's get it in the shop.